I'm going to get you to pass the Florida Civic Literacy Exam and the Civics EOC, and if you don't believe me, take a look at these comments on my other videos. What's going on, everybody? My name is Jack, and I'm a civics teacher in the state of Florida. Without further ado, let's get into practice test 1 for the Civics EOC as well as the Florida Civic Literacy Exam. All right, everybody, so let's take a look at practice test 1 for the Florida Civic Literacy Exam as well as the Civics EOC. So number 1 says, what does popular sovereignty mean? So popular sovereignty is without a doubt going to come up on both of these tests. It's a vocab word that you guys need to understand and know, so let's break it down, right? Popular, what I want you guys to do is think about population, okay? Population, people, right? Living in a specific area. Sovereignty is freedom or liberty, right? So it's the freedom or liberty of a country or people to make decisions based on their country. So let's take a look at our answer choices here. A, the government is created by and serves the will of the people. B, the federal government has absolute authority. C, all laws are determined by elected officials. And D, citizens have no say in government decisions. So D is going to be inherently incorrect. Obviously, if it's popular sovereignty or people's freedom, people's liberty, okay, D is going to be incorrect. C is also going to be incorrect. B says the federal government has absolute authority. That doesn't seem too friendly towards the people, so B is incorrect. The answer here is A, all right? The government is created by and serves the will of the people, all right? Popular sovereignty means people and their right to decide how their government functions. The answer to number 1 is A. 2, which principle ensures that no single branch of government becomes too powerful? A, you have federalism. B, you have judicial review. C is checks and balances. And D is popular sovereignty. Again, we're talking about the branches of government, right? You have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. We have one specific principle that makes sure that one of those does not become too popular. This should be pretty easy for all of you. I like to call it a layup, right? Should be pretty easy. The answer here is checks and balances. Now, federalism is the division and sharing of power between federal and state government. Okay, judicial review makes sure that actions are constitutional, and popular sovereignty we just discussed in question 1, right, is the power of the people to decide how their government functions. So the best answer for 2 is C. Now, number 3, which case established judicial review in the United States? A is Brown versus Board of Ed, B is Marbury versus Madison, C is Plessy versus Ferguson, and D is Miranda versus Arizona. So we know that D gives us our Miranda rights. If you've ever seen a cop show, it says you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and be will used against you, blah, blah, blah. That is from Miranda v. Arizona. You need to be aware of your rights before you are arrested. C is Plessy versus Ferguson. This is separate but equal, right? B is Marbury versus Madison, and A is Brown versus Board of Ed. Obviously, if we're talking about judicial review, the answer is going to be Marbury versus Madison, B, all right? Judicial review basically gives the court the power to decide whether actions or laws or anything like that is constitutional or unconstitutional. 4, what is the main function of the Commerce Clause in the Constitution? All right, so when you hear commerce, I want you to think of trade. I want you to think of business, all right? All of those things are related to the word commerce. So A says to limit congressional authority. B is to protect states' rights. C is to regulate interstate and international trade. And D is to regulate freedom of speech. So whenever you see the word commerce, I want you to think of business and trade. For that reason, the answer here is C. 5, which amendment guarantees equal protection under the law? This question is a bit tricky, all right? So A is the 5th, B is the 14th, C is the 10th, and D is the 1st, all right? Now, all of these amendments are amendments that you are going to have seen a bunch in your civics studies, whether it's in high school and college if you're taking the FCLE, or if you are in middle school and you're taking the Civics EOC. So A is the 5th Amendment. We know that includes things like due process, right? B is the 14th Amendment. We know that that extends citizenship rights to specific groups. C is the 10th, and D is the 1st. So the answer here, I would put between 5th and 14th, all right? The 10th is about the states and the people. Okay, the First Amendment is RAPS, which we'll talk about in a bit. So the answer here is actually going to be the 14th Amendment. Now, why this is tricky is because, yes, right, the 5th Amendment does provide protections under the law, okay, but the 14th guarantees it, all right, equal protection regardless of your race, specifically, under the law, okay? Everybody needs to be treated equally under the law. So the 14th almost expands on the 5th, which is why the B is the correct answer here, the 14th Amendment. 6, what is the purpose of the Bill of Rights? Okay, A is to safeguard individual freedoms and civil liberties. B is to provide government officials with more power. C is to limit judicial review. And D is to establish the supremacy of state laws. So if you read through these answer choices here, 3 of them have nothing to do with rights at all, right? B says to provide government officials with more power. Does that seem like it's providing rights to its citizens? I don't think so. C is to limit judicial review. That doesn't seem like it's providing many rights either, since judicial review is a way to protect rights. And D, to establish the supremacy of state laws. As we know, state laws are not supreme to the U.S. Constitution or the federal government, so the answer here is A, all right? Safeguarding individual freedoms and civil liberties, all right? And when we get to question 8, I'm going to teach you a little trick to remember the First Amendment. It's super easy, and you'll never get it wrong again. All right, number 7, which Enlightenment thinker is associated with the idea of separation of powers? Okay, so you have Thomas Hobbes, you have John Locke, you have Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and you have Montesquieu, all right? Now, these are all names that you should have heard in your civic studies, right? We know social contract and natural rights with John Locke. We know Rousseau and Hobbes were also very influential during the Enlightenment, all right? But the answer here, there's really no way of providing any tricks for this answer. You kind of just need to know this. The idea of separation of powers comes from Baron de Montesquieu, all right? So every time you see separation of powers and sometimes checks and balances, the answer is probably going to be Montesquieu, all right? Conversely, if the question has Montesquieu in it, right, the question pertains to Montesquieu, maybe it's a quote, maybe it's something else that pertains to him, all right, the answer is probably going to be separation of powers or checks and balances. So you always want to keep that in mind, right? Just like if you see the Magna Carta, the answer is probably limited government. When you see Montesquieu, the answer is probably separation of powers. 8, what right is protected under the First Amendment? Should say which rights are protected under the First Amendment. So A, you have freedom of speech, religion, and assembly. B is the right to bear arms. C, protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. And D is the right to a speedy trial. All right? So every time you see the First Amendment, I want you to think of RAPS, okay? Think of RAPS, all right? So RAPS, religion, assembly, okay? Petition the government, freedom of the press, and speech, all right? This is your ticket to understanding the First Amendment. And please forgive my drawing skills. That's actually a lot harder than it looks, all right? So anytime you are talking about the First Amendment, right, you have the freedom of religion. You have the freedom to assemble. You have the freedom of the press. You have freedom to petition the government. The freedom of speech. The answer here is A. All right? Right to bear arms, that's your Second Amendment. Protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, that's your 4th. Right to a speedy trial, 6th. All right? So let's take a look at number 9. The 10th Amendment reserves powers to which entities? All right? A, the federal government only. B, the states of the people. C, the judiciary. And D, the international organizations. So obviously international organizations is not going to be correct. All right? We don't reserve rights for international organizations. That's not really how the Constitution works. All right? B, the states of the people. C, the judiciary. So the judiciary obviously doesn't inherently have rights preserved for it either. And we know that the federal government is almost anti-preserving rights for itself. So the best answer here is going to be B. All right, so when you look at the 10th Amendment, remember that any power that is not expressly given to the federal government, right, meaning it is written down in the U.S. Constitution in Article 1, it gets reserved for the states or the people, okay? And the idea behind that is if we listed every single right that a citizen of the United States has, the document would be literally infinitely long because you can't list every single right. So a better way of kind of crafting this and differentiating between the rights for or powers of the federal government and the rights of the people is just to specifically list the rights of the government, and anything that isn't listed is reserved for the states of the people. Okay, last one here. Let's take a look at number 10. What did John Locke's social contract theory emphasize? So A says separation of powers within government. B is a strong monarchy ruling over people. C, government power based on the consent of the governed. And D, equal outcomes for all individuals. So D is almost impossible, right? To have equal outcomes for all individuals is a very, very hard thing. You can't really theorize that anyway. A is separation of powers within government. Okay, it's a good idea, but we also just talked about who had the idea of separation of powers, and that is Montesquieu, not John Locke. Okay. B, a strong monarchy ruling over people. A lot of times this will never be the answer, especially if you're studying American civics. That's kind of like the antithesis of the whole entire discipline in social studies, right? Having a strong monarchy that rules over the people. So the answer here is going to be C, right? Government power based on the consent of the governed. Now, what the consent of the governed is the American people consenting to allow elected officials to make rules that they will then follow, right? So in America, we don't all gather in Washington, D.C. and raise our hands and vote on specific issues. What we do is, through a representative democracy, we elect people that make those decisions on our behalf. We are consenting to allow them to make rules that we will then follow, okay? That is what the consent of the governed means, and that is why 10 is C. So that does it for practice test 1 for the FCLE and the Civics EOC. Please go ahead and like and subscribe this video. I put these together for free, all for you all, to help you pass the Civics EOC as well as the FCLE. So if you have some extra time, I would really appreciate if you just liked and subscribed. Also share it with your friends. I know that this can be a stressful time in your lives trying to pass all of these state tests. I know sometimes based on the comments that I've received, some of you feel unprepared for it. So I am trying to do my part and make sure that you are all prepared on test day to do the best that you possibly can. And all that I ask in return is that you guys like and subscribe to the video. That's it. That's all I got for you. Happy testing, and I will see you in part 2.